director tells you to do.
I'm going to just throw up hands. We don't have mics, so you're going to have to be loud, but right here in the white shirt.
Hi, that was devastating and very beautiful, and I'm happy I came, and I'm really excited that you're here. And I want to thank you for supporting some of our hearts and minds with your work. And I feel that you have a very tender exchange with the in-between state, from what I've seen. And I wonder what your ongoing experience is of that in your ordinary life, how that plays out for you. And my second question is, have you ever had a conversation with David Lynch?
Well, the second one I can just say no. I haven't, other than maybe in my head or something. And yeah, the in-between space, you're right. That is, I mean, I don't know exactly what you mean by it, but for me, it's kind of like all those spaces where you don't know what to do next, or you don't know exactly what you feel, or where you have doubt. Because to me, that's where new things come from. And that's like where mystery is. And kind of unfortunately, that space feels really uncomfortable or even just really boring. And which is, I think, why I tend to just want to look at my phone in the in-between space, which, because that space comes up a million times a day, where you don't quite know what you feel. And yeah, so, I mean, I guess it's the job of all of us who are, well, any person really, but especially I think if you're trying to have new ideas every day, to just bear with it and to just stay in it for as long as you can handle. And then sometimes nothing happens. And I think that's my worst fear, and I put a lot of that in this movie. Like, well, what if you just get paralyzed? What if nothing beautiful comes out of that? And then what if once you're paralyzed, you flee yourself and you try and exist in a place where nothing is expected of you, or where maybe you can just entirely avoid in-betweenness. Yeah, so that is a lot what this movie is about.
When seeing it here, the nothing felt really important and sweet and intense. To see it like on a big screen felt so pregnant and vital. Thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you.
Right here.
It seemed that LA was a big influence in the film, and I'd like to know, how do you like living in LA, and how is that influencing your work? And then also, I also saw your sculpture piece, and I'd like to know what other participatory pieces are you thinking about doing in the future?
Well, these are two-parters. Okay. Well, LA, ultimately it's a pretty interior movie, right? I mean, I worked so hard to kind of bring interior states out into like a physical form. But there are some odd ways. I'll tell you a little story that is very LA that connects to the movie. I was struggling writing. I was feeling really stuck and kind of a little exhausted by our characters, which are so sort of necessarily self-involved. And so I found myself reading The Penny Saver, the classified thing that comes with our junk mail that you're supposed to just throw out, but if you're really not wanting to write your script, then you just maybe read it cover to cover, And then I started cold calling people in it and asking them if I could come over and interview them about their life and their hopes and dreams, and so I did that. I went all over to all these places that you hear about, but I don't know. For me, I don't go to Vista or Paramount or Bell or just places I hadn't been to in our city, and I met all these people who didn't have computers for the most part, or they would be using Craigslist, although they were not one kind of person. Not whatever I'd imagined was wrong. And one of them was this old man named Joe, who I noticed right away had all these handmade cards, and they were cards that he had made for his wife, and they were really dirty. They were like really raunchy. And the more I got to know him, the more I just felt like he was so much more interesting in a way, or that was my fear, that God, this is better than anything I'm writing. And so I asked him if he would be in the movie, and he is. He's playing himself. And that's his house, in kind of near Burbank Airport, and his cards. And what Hamish is doing is really just reenactments, initially when they meet is all just based on when I met him. And that was your first day of shooting.
Yeah, it was really hard to get out of the house.
Right.
It was like we talked. You introduced.
Oh right,
me
yeah,
to
because
him
he talks and talks.
before,
Yeah.
and it was really hard to leave.
Right, and it was your first day of shooting. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember my first day of shooting.
Yeah.
But
I just was thinking like that must have been so weird, just to be thrown in.
It was very
with,
intense. Yeah. But you had but we went and saw
You'd
him
met
before.
him. Yes. Yeah.
And it was
Right.
hard to leave then. Too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Anyways, so that's one LA story, and then the pieces that that she mentioned are in front of the Pacific Design Center, that giant weird blue thing on Melrose. There's these pieces that are kind of designed for you to pose with and take pictures of yourself with, and so you can blur up through October if you want to see that.
A quick follow-up about Joe with Hamish. Besides the fact that he was not an actor, there are strong suggestions in the movie that he's some form of Jason's future self, that there are connections there. Are those things you talked about with Joe? Did you guys get into actorly things, or was it kind of letting him riff? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think every line in the movie is really from the script, except for the stuff with Joe, which was really talking about his hairdryer and the film sort of rolling. I mean, he gave me sort of like a master class in improvisation, which I'm not really that comfortable with.